Can stop smiling.
All right, hello and welcome to Swing It and Ding It, an iHeartMedia podcast. Man, this is a birdie fest.
It's a Philly show, baby.
Let's go.
Good morning and welcome to Swing It and Ding It, episode 223 of the Swing It and Ding It podcast, an iHeartMedia podcast brought to you by Comcast Business, buymyballs.com, that's balls with a Z, the Penn Club on 2nd Indoor Simulator Club, and All Access GTE. I am Harry Mays, along with Danielle Matthews. We got no Moose this week. He'll be back with us next week, but we are still in full instruction mode here on Swing It and Ding It, and we love big names and big brands within the game of golf, and we especially love when they come back and join us for a second or third time. And this guy checks all three of those boxes, and he is the newly named 2025 PGA National Teacher and Coach of the Year. He's been Golf Digest and Golf.com top 50 teacher. He's the director of instruction at beautiful Jupiter Hills. He's a coach to players on the PGA Tour, Live Tour, Asian Tour, Korn Ferry Tour, and even some collegiate players. That is a mouthful. And Jason Baile, welcome again to Swing It and Ding It. How are you today?
I'm awesome. Thank you so much for having me again.
Absolutely.
Jason, how many more things are you going to do so we can make that intro a little bit longer?
I really just want you to keep saying that 2025 PGA National Teacher and Coach of the Year. That's the one I get the most joy out of. So, you can just say that anytime you want.
It's almost like Tiger being introduced at the Tour Championship that year, and then Phil's just finally said, all right.
Yeah, you can almost quick run to the restroom and come back, and they're still like, rattling off his accolades. It's funny. But Jason's the Tiger of instruction.
Exactly.
I don't know about that. I'm happy just to be mentioned in a group that has some really cool names on it. That's for sure.
We'll talk about that, Jason. I know that was, something that was so special to you, is being amongst that very impressive list.
Yeah, I kind of intentionally over the last couple of years, after I thought we had an opportunity to be worthy of it. My resume was growing, and I kind of shied away from looking at the actual list of names until after it was announced. And once it was announced, I went back and looked at it. And when you're on a list with Harvey Pinnock and Jim McLean and David Ledbetter, not to mention some of the more modern guys that I think the world of, like Todd Anderson, Cameron McCormick, Mark Blackburn, Martin Hall. It's incredible to kind of look back at that and think that you get to join them. Especially for somebody like me who just grew up, really, I admired coaches almost more than I admired players. One of my mentors was Jack Lumpkin, and I certainly enjoyed my time that Jack would spend with me. And so I was always enamored with the coaches more so than the players. So to join a list with those guys on it is just really, really special to me.
Yeah, that's really impressive. Now, it's been about two months or so since it was announced back in January at the PGA show. Has there been any effects, since you got this new title? I mean,
he has a line behind him signing, waiting for autographs.
Yeah, it's. I knew it would come with some responsibility, obviously. So we were ready for that. Danielle certainly helped me with that. It's. I already had a busy schedule this year with tour travel, and then my job at Jupiter Hills, and then what we do in the South Florida PGA section and the national level to kind of mentor and help. So this is only added to it, but I think it's also taken some pressure off. You can sit back a little bit and everybody understands, I think, especially at the club and with my players, that there's a certain sense of obligation to wearing the title, so to speak. So I think everybody's understood there's a stretch on my time. I know my family certainly has. They've been awesome about it. And even though there's a ton that goes with it, and we've only just gotten started, it's been fun to kind of give that back and to understand that I asked some really close friends of mine right when it happened. And I thought I got a great piece of advice from a good friend, Matt Wilson, who's up at Baltusrol. And I said, how do you think I should handle this? And he said, I think you should be the National Teacher of the Year, not become the National Teacher of the Year. And I thought that was great advice in a simple way, is that I just need to be who I am and what got me here, and not try to change my personality or the way I do things just because the PGA of America and the awards committee think I'm worthy of this award. So that's what I've really been trying to do, is just kind of be old redneck Jason and kind of roll with it.
I love that, Jason. That's so great. I'd like for you to kind of add a little bit more color to what you said your schedule looks like, because some of these people listening have no idea. I'm a little, I know a little bit of your schedule, but you're sitting at Doral right now for the Live Tour. You were just with Lucas prepping for the Masters. You gave Bud a lesson. You have guys on Corn Ferry. What does a typical week, or maybe even a day, with Jason look like, balancing all these guys on all these different tours, trying to say hi to your wife and daughters, maybe getting into the gym at 4 a.m. Like, let them know what your schedule actually consists of.
That's a good one. Well, first of all, let's start with the fact that even though I love tour players, they are not good at scheduling things. Okay. That's why they have teams around them. Yeah. So
I'm not shocked to hear that.
Absolutely. So it's always, a text, the night before, hey, what do you got tomorrow? You have any time? And I'm usually completely booked. One of my assistants, Morgan Bowen, helps me a ton with that. We hide these little places in my schedule during the day. So if a member calls and just has to get in, or a tour player calls, we skip lunch. We come in early. We stay late.
I was just going to say, generally that's called lunch, Jason.
Yes. So we do what we have to do. But normally, like Monday morning, on a tour week when I'm traveling, I usually fly in on Monday in case, and so as late as I can on a Sunday night, so I can sleep in a hotel bed and not rush to get to the golf course. And so usually Monday,
I think
Tuesday,
we're losing
Wednesday,
you a little bit. Is he breaking up for you,
site,
yeah. You're breaking up a little bit, Jason. I think even the intro.
Now you're back.
Yeah,
we didn't.
I timestamped it, so we could delete it. Just
we can do that over.
Yeah, you were leading just with your start at Monday.
Okay, can you hear me now, though?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah. So I like to get in early on Sunday if I can, and then be able to get to the golf course on site on a Monday morning instead of trying to fly in on Monday. Usually when I've flown in on Monday, I just feel rushed the whole day to get to the golf course, especially if I have multiple players on site. And then Monday's just kind of checking in with everybody. Tuesday's a little bit more hardcore prep for the week with each player. Wednesday, you're balancing who's playing in the Pro-Am and at what time they're playing, because you want to get on the golf course with them as much as possible. Obviously, during a Pro-Am situation, there's a lot going on. So you're gonna be a little bit of a relief or a little bit of buffer sometimes for the player and the caddy. And then on Wednesday night, I fly back out, get up in the morning on Thursday, go back to Jupiter Hills and work with our membership or whoever's in town on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then on Sunday, I get to play with my family if I'm really lucky before I have to fly out again. So we kind of have some rituals we try to do during the season to make sure that we get to church and brunch and all the little things we want to do as a family. Hopefully the boat gets involved in that soon, because that's been a missing component of my family life here recently. But yeah, and then we just kind of on Monday morning, we run it back again. So wow. I enjoy the travel, to be honest with you. It doesn't bother me at this point. It's an incredible honor to be able to be in the arena each and every week on golf courses that I've watched the PGA Tour play, for years, or a place here like Doral for Live this week that I watched Tiger went on, Jack went on. It's a really cool situation to walk around in these wonderful arenas and be a part of that ecosystem.
Yeah, very cool. Very busy schedule, to say the least, man. I had no idea it was that involved, but props to your family for supporting this, because they don't get much of that time right now. But with regards to the professional players, how much of your time, are you more of a swing coach or a psychiatrist, or is it about 50-50?
Depends on the day and depends on the player.
Okay.
And add a couple other in
Yeah,
probably.
absolutely. I like the term coach. I grew up wanting to be a coach. So I think I try to coach human beings. I don't try to coach the golf swing, and I don't try to coach golfers. I try to coach the human being that's in front of me at the time. And that human being changes just like any of us. I have a couple of players that can be in a mood here or there, and I can tell when something's a little off, and I can tell when I need to shift how I talk to them or the information that I need to give them in that arena. I mean, these guys are going through life, and they're doing their job while they're going through life, no different than any of us. They just have TV cameras on them, and magazine editors wanting their attention, and other players and agents, and they've got this ecosystem of equipment reps and everything that goes on with that. So and then obviously you throw the family in there. And so you've got to make sure that you're really listening and really watching the player's body language to know when the right time to say something is. And I call it letting them bleed a little bit. Sometimes when they're not in a position or not in a place that they're going to listen to my information, it's probably best for me to hold that information back and wait until they are.
What are some of those cues? Like, how do you identify that?
I can usually tell each player is kind of different. I can
Mhm.
tell by while they're warming up, whether they're watching their golf ball fly or not,
Okay.
whether their head goes down really quickly, whether they let go of the club really quickly. Are they being diligent in what they're doing? I've seen the best in every player that I coach, and I've seen the not so best, and so I can
Mhm.
kind of discern the difference between each player and when they're ready to listen and when they're not. Take Lucas for example. I just know that I ask him something. What do we need to do better this week? And he gives me his report on that. I've already talked to his caddy a little bit, and so between those two minds, I get something back from them that leads me down a path of what's the narrative going to be for the week. What's kind of the theme of the week going to be from a thought process standpoint. These guys are great players.
Oh, yeah.
Their technique's their technique, but where are they in the moment? What are they concerned about each week per the different golf course they're playing? Is it a golf course that suits them? Is it a golf course that doesn't? Some weeks making the cut is a win. Some weeks, making the top 50 is a win. Some weeks making the top 25 is a win, and so on, just depending on the player and the golf course and the state of their game that week.
Well, Jason,
Well,
I mean, you just teed this up completely. You were talking about Lucas. You're talking about what we're working on. Making the cut is incredible. That just tees us up for Lucas Glover and the Masters. Lucas has had just such an incredible resurgence. We saw you post yesterday with him in a lesson. So, how are you preparing with him? And kind of prepping for the unique challenges of Augusta. What has kind of his cues been to you, and what is the key to his success leading
Yeah.
up to Augusta?
So he took last week off, spent some time with the family. He and his wife went to New York City just to get away, no golf club, so he'd be refreshed. So he had texted me, he said, no clubs going to New York City. See you on Monday. Masters prep starts. And I was like, great, because I love it when he's engaged like that. He's already got his schedule and his planning going. Of course, he's 45 years old. Some of my other guys, not quite so much. But he's really ready to go. So we got together on Monday morning. We started with short game. We had been working on something with the putter and his setup and just how he was rolling it, which he's done a phenomenal job over the last couple of weeks, ever since Pebble, actually, when we made a little adjustment in his putting setup, which had the putter working a little bit better on an arc. And then from there, I asked him some short shots around the green. I said, okay, you've played Augusta enough times. What do we need to do better around the greens at Augusta? And he said, slightly into the green, higher lofted shot over a bunker, kind of to a short flag on those firm greens. How do we stop the ball closer to the hole, basically? And Lucas has a really, really good short game. I wouldn't call it elite, okay, at this level, but it's really good. And there's a couple of shots like that I think he does need to get better at. And so we worked on a little bit of technique. It was really funny. Peter Uline, who I coach, is really elite around the greens, and he doesn't have a whole lot of set to the golf club going back, so there's not a lot of wrist set on a short pitch shot. And so I really wanted Lucas. It's actually kind of like something I've wanted him to do for about 3 years now. But it became his idea a little bit because we needed this shot. And so I had him not set the golf club at all. I said, can you point your thumbs down all the way back and open the face? Let's speed your body up to add some height and spin instead of you trying to do it all with your wrist and hands. And so he tried it a couple of times, and I was like, no, you got to do it more. And he took it back there and he pointed the shaft down like this. He said, like this. And I said, yeah, exactly like that. And he goes, I feel like a pterodactyl. and so I said, okay, do the pterodactyl.
Yeah, become a dinosaur.
He hits the first shot, and the bottom of the swing is so much different. And he looks at me and goes, oh, my God, that was awesome. And I was like, more pterodactyl. So the whole morning we were going, pterodactyl, pterodactyl.
Just making noises.
Yes, exactly. And so he was so excited about it, which to get a 45-year-old major champion excited about something was really cool. And
awesome.
So we did that. He went and worked out at 11 with Colby Tourier. I had Bud in for some San Antonio prep. He was getting ready to leave. And then Lucas back that afternoon, and we started working on. Lucas has been striking it really well. He doesn't hit it particularly high. We're going to have to hit some longer clubs than other players into green. So we were actually working on launch angle, peak height, and how that ball would descend into the green. So what we call landing angle. How could we get the most out of every golf club while it's still being able to stop on a green? So we went through the bag, kind of rehearsed some play calls of what we might do during the week. Because one interesting thing about Augusta for coaches is we can't have our phones on the range, so we can't film golf swings. And then we also cannot walk. It's the only place that we can't walk inside the ropes during practice rounds. So the communication level has to be at its highest for player and coach that week, because you're going to have to get stuff done without looking at a video and without actually being able to be inside the ropes like we are every week on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and actually seeing the shots.
Right.
Plus, there's a ton of people. So, like, we'll usually walk a couple of holes, but you're not going to get to see what you normally see week in and week out. So the communication between coach and player and caddy that week has to be at the highest level.
All right, so you're trying to simulate, short game shots around those green complexes, but given the fact that you just said that you can't, walk with them during the week and there's no phones and so forth, with the uniqueness of that property, are there certain approach shots that you try to simulate in practice, with the curvature of that land and, maybe even shaping certain tee shots that, he's going to face, the 10th hole and, so got to go way left. And do you try to do that in this time?
Oh, absolutely. As we get closer to the actual event, we will start running through the playbook, so to speak, of tee shots. Okay, what are we doing? One, what are we doing? Two, if you've played there at all in the Masters, all right, then you have your lines. Okay, everybody knows kind of the lines. The lines off the tees, obviously will change a little bit as they move the tee boxes per year. Like 11's obviously changed, 18's changed, but most of them are, once you got your lines, now it's about where's your launch direction, where are you going to start this golf ball, which way are you going to curve it. And so you have to refine those. Then you have your approaches into the green per pin placements as well. Lucas is primarily a drawer of the golf ball, but we still have to have something that holds a certain wind or something that actually works left or right to either hold the green or to access a flag when needed. So yeah, those are things we rehearse. We'll rehearse them in Jupiter. Then we'll get there Monday and we'll continue to rehearse. He'll go play. He'll come back. Hey, we need this shot needs to be a little bit better. And we just keep running the same plays until it's time for game time.
Now, Jason, taking it away from the Masters where you're not allowed to have a phone on property, take it back to Jupiter Hills Performance Center where you have an elite setup, to put it modestly. Talk about some of the trends or innovations in golf right now and what you're using, what you're excited about, and what kind of helps you with your players.
Yeah. So we use TrackMan. We also have Bushnell Launch Pros that we use for a lot of short game shots, things like that for ball and club data. Love the ease of carrying the Bushnell Launch Pro out there. That's been fun. Obviously, TrackMan's been a big part of, or launch monitors in general have been a big part of golf coaching for quite some time now. Swing Catalyst is our force play company and our software company that we've been using, but we're really excited about some new technology from a company called Fenris out of Germany. It's called Motion to Coach. I have it in the bay right now. I actually had them put Lucas on it not too long ago because I know Lucas's 3D data pretty well, and I needed to see, from what I've been using with K Motion to what Fenris and Motion to Coach are offering, and it was really, really, really cool. To see what Fenris and Motion to Coach are coming out with, markerless 3D at a medical grade level, which has been fantastic. So we're really excited to dig into it. I can use it. I can't drive it very well, so I need to work on my driving skills of it. They were by not too long ago helping me with driver's ed of how to use this in a lesson. But the data is remarkable with hand speed, club head speed, kinematic sequence, all the tilts and bends of the body, the trace of the club head, the grip. It's some phenomenal stuff that I'm really looking forward to spending some time with this summer.
That's awesome. Now, let's go to the amateur side. When you take them in there with all that technology, what's the most common swing flaw that you seem to find with amateur players?
Most of the time, they don't do the ordinary things extraordinarily well. So I hate that'll probably be on my headstone, but there's just
I was lipping it with you.
Does their grip and club face match up? Are their tilts and bends correct? Is the ball position in the right spot? Just these little things that aren't sexy enough for Instagram posts, but really do make a difference. It's amazing. Right. We have a saying at Jupiter Hills: no one gets worse from setting up better, and it never ceases to amaze me when you get somebody organized before they start to swing and you really put an intent of a shot shape into their mind, how many things can just get better. And it's cool to talk about shallowing out the club and, AP force and, where's the force vector, all that stuff's really cool. But if you don't have those ordinary things done extraordinarily well, I don't see how any of that's pertinent to helping you play better every weekend. I think some of the things that we use that are real important for us from a it's technology, but at a different level is the stat stuff we do with Swing U has been unbelievable. Having our players actually record their stats in a program with Swing U that allows us to go back in and actually look at where they're losing strokes. We use Coach Now, so we build swing lockers for everybody. That's all under the Golf Genius umbrella. And I think those pieces of technology, just recording what's going on the golf course, because we're the only coaches at a club level that are only at some of the practices, and we're hardly ever at any of your games. I'm at a lot of practices for tour players, and I'm at some of their games, but I'm not even at their games all the time. So you're relying on a lot of feedback, both from player, caddy, the Swing U app to guide you on how you're trying to get better.
Danielle's got some rapid fire here coming up, and I wanted to get one more in here about one of your other players. Bud Cauley is playing some terrific golf. His stats are through the roof. He's had some great finishes here recently. He's in the event this week in San Antonio. He's my one-and-done player, by the way. You might want to text him that. But
No pressure.
Talk about your journey with him. Like, when did you get involved with him, and how gratifying it is for you to see him playing the way he is right now?
Well, first and foremost, Bud's a great human being, good dad, husband. He's just a cool guy. And even though he's an Alabama guy. But it's been about a year now. I remember it was actually through Peter. Peter had said that Bud asked for my number last year and reached out. And I've always admired Bud's golf swing and his ability to play. He'd just gotten into some bad habits. We've just kind of like put him back together a little bit. When you don't play for that long and you've gone through some injuries like he had just gotten into some bad habits. So we've just kind of been slowly plugging away at his takeaway, at the top of his backswing, just not letting the golf club fan too far open in the takeaway, which got him kind of lifted it and across the line at the top. And Bud's, like I've said before, Bud's really neutral. So if you actually look at him standing there, even from an elite coaching standpoint, it's hard to tell if he's a drawer or a fader. Like a lot of guys, you can actually watch me. Oh, this guy's going to fade it. This guy's going to draw it. Bud's kind of at his best when he's kind of this zero guy, and then he shapes the ball both ways on the golf course. And so that's a wonderful talent to have, but you also got to be careful that because when you do that, you very rarely have kind of one miss And that's when it can get a little sketchy as a coach. You got to make sure that we still, we have these breadcrumbs back to, if we miss it, we're only going to miss it here. And so I think that's been a fun journey for he and I both in our relationship, just getting better as coach and player, as trying to talk that through and get to that point, because it's a superpower to be able to move the ball both ways as easily as he can, but it can also work to disadvantage if you're not paying attention on making sure that we need to have that one kind of miss.
Thanks for sharing that, Jason. This is really great. Yeah, our listeners are going to be so excited for this episode. Jason, as Harry said, I'm going to do a rapid fire. This is the first time we've done it. I'm going to have a timer here. We're going to give 60 seconds. I need you to be as diligent and quick as possible with a one-word answer. Try not to think about it too much.
That's what I'm afraid of. If I get like this, that makes me go way off the rails.
Fun and rapid fire, short answers, one word preferred. Get through as many as we can. 1 minute on the clock. Are you ready?
I am ready.
All right, let's go. Hardest shot at Augusta.
18 tee shot.
Who's got the best short game on tour right now?
JT.
One drill every golfer should be doing, but probably isn't.
That's a good one.
Left hand only golf swing with right palm off, even if you're not hitting a golf ball all the way through.
The most misunderstood part of the golf swing.
The top.
Favorite club in your bag.
Putter.
If you could steal
Scotty Cameron putter.
Shout out.
If you could steal one player swing from any era, whose would it be?
Tom Pertzer.
Live team event or Ryder Cup? Which is a better format?
Ryder Cup.
One hole at Augusta you'd love to redesign?
8.
Golf walk-up song.
Authority song by John Cougar Mellencamp.
Oh, yes.
And that is our time. We didn't get through all of them, but they were great answers. That was fun.
I love we got John Cougar Mellencamp in there. That's terrific. Well,
Before
Jason,
there's even 4 digits on the clock. There we go.
We really enjoyed this, man. Thanks so much for taking time out of that incredibly busy schedule to join us. Best of luck to you and all your guys in the coming weeks. And we'll talk to you down the road. I'm sure Danielle will probably be talking to you maybe tomorrow.
Later today.
Thanks so much.
Hey,
Thanks,
thank you
Jason.
for having me. Really appreciate it.
All right. We're going to take a quick time out and be back with a whole lot more. We got a lot to discuss here, Danielle, starting off with some tea on the other side. All right, welcome back to Swing It and Ding It, and so great to spend some more time with Jason Baile. Man, we need start asking him about how he coaches his players, whether it be an amateur or a tour player, whatever. And you hear how he works with each individual. You can see why he's named the coach and teacher of the year by the PGA. It's just incredible.
Oh yeah, and Harry sharing his schedule. Like I don't even know if there was enough color added to that. This man's schedule is so wildly busy, and I've seen it. Like he said, him and Morgan will carve out sometimes. It's like he's lucky if he gets to quick stop in his office and take a bite of a sandwich or a sip of water or whatever. And he cares. He's so passionate. And we didn't even get into it. He has a full mentorship program. He's always welcoming, students, students of the teaching game that, are aspiring teachers and instructors. He's always welcoming can't say that this morning, them to Jupiter Hills. Like he's just a fantastic guy, fantastic coach. It's just, it was great to hear some tidbits.
I'd love to be a fly on the wall when he starts working with Lucas on the Augusta prep next week. That would be something to just take in,
Yeah. So I posted a story that of him and Lucas, like he was describing how they're working on trajectory and everything else. But it's pretty cool. And it's sometimes challenging for me because I have all these coaches sending me stuff and I'm looking at all these different swings and I'm like, there's no way in this lifetime that I can even have action like that. Even when he said with Lucas, in the pterodactyl trying to point the thumbs down, I'm sitting here trying to take it back. And I'm like, how do you even, I'm trying
it sounded like he was sort of describing the way Jason Day and Steve Stricker do it, with no wrist hinge with the short game shot. So,
but when he said like
pterodactyl,
thumbs,
I love it.
Yeah, and thumbs facing down, I was like, wait,
Yeah.
how do I do that? And I was trying to take it back. So interesting.
That's awesome. Well, this
You going to try the pterodactyl, Harry, when you get out to the range?
I'll be doing that as soon as we get done here. But this segment is brought to you by our very new partner on Swing It and Ding It, buymyballs.com. You can tee off with top-tier golf balls without the top-tier price. Top quality, recycled, premium brand golf balls for a fraction of the price. Just go to buymyballs.com, and that's balls with a Z. All right, balls with a Z to time for some tea with D.
Ooh.
How about
Look at
that?
this. We got Dr. Seuss in the house. Tiger. A lot of people were, I mean, if they're gullible, they were a little frustrated with him. He had a little April Fool's Day joke where he's like, hey, like, my Achilles is fine. I've been, in the gym lifting, blah, 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 and I'm committed. I'm playing in the Masters. And then he said, just kidding.
Yeah.
So,
you know what? It doesn't even work with me anymore when it comes to him. That's what's sad about it.
You
know what I mean? I'd love to have been fooled. But it's like, no, I'm not buying that.
Right. I didn't either. I saw it and I was like, okay. And I didn't even realize it was like April, but I just knew. I was like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
This isn't, whatever.
Well, it's so bad. Temple had a basketball player decommit yesterday on April Fool's Day. And some people were actually thinking it was an April Fool's joke. Now, I know better than that.
Oh, my God.
Too.
It wasn't actually?
No, it wasn't. And I knew it wasn't. There's no way. It's that bad with the basketball program that you don't even fall for that anymore.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
That's funny, though. Everyone's like, hey, just kidding. He's actually. Oh, that's funny. I didn't see that news. That's some good basketball news. If I'm on my deathbed and my kids have to say 2-time Masters champion, then I'm a bad dad. Bubba Watson recently shared with golf.com how much the Masters means to him, especially since 2012 and 14 coincided with the adoptions of both of his children.
Mm-hmm.
He was saying like him and his son Caleb had hoped to compete in the PNC championship, but obviously with the move to live, that prevents him from playing. But pretty cool golf.com interview with him. And I'm not the biggest fan of Bubba, but this kind of humanized him a little bit. He was reflecting on his legacy, saying, he never wants his kids to obviously measure his success when he retires, but maybe rather the example he sets through hard work and everything else. So at 46, he's still motivated to compete in Augusta and chase another green jacket. But I think the interview was cool. Like I said, it provided kind of another look at him. So if you guys have some time, want to check out that interview, it's on golf.com. But
yeah, I'll definitely check that out. I'm sort of fascinated. I've always been kind of fascinated by him because he was always a player to me that emotionally was on the edge at all times. Like he could lose it, like, at any second, and then go out and hit the greatest, 2-iron you've ever seen. And just watching that guy with his homemade swing, just be able to shape balls. You talk about Augusta National, obviously, he's won there multiple times, but to watch him on that golf course, I was able to do it. And it is something to see him shape golf balls. So, I was always kind of fascinated by him.
And I like, when players have the opportunity, because it's easy for us from the couch, watching TV or looking at a scorecard on the app to, make judgment or anything about any of these guys. And when they sit down and they tell you, like Jason was saying, they're just guys going and doing their job. They're just playing. It's not like it's, sorry, I got distracted by my ADD here.
Yeah, I don't know, the change of scene here. Wow.
Yeah. I was like, what kind of show are we on now?
Yeah. Let's reverse this, Powers. Danielle should be in the big box and me in the small box.
No, I like it.
That's best for ratings.
I was just looking at the Frankie Darcell. I was like, okay,
yeah.
I'm on an after hours show now.
What is going on here?
That's fine. We'll keep rolling. All right,
yeah,
more
keep
tea.
Going.
More tea. Industry update. Tiger Woods expands the TGR Learning Lab to Philadelphia. So Tiger Woods has officially opened his second TGR Learning Lab in Philadelphia, marking a major investment in youth education. It's at Cobbs Creek campus in West Philly. So 30,000 square foot facility, provides free STEM-based program for students grade 1 through 12, focusing on robotics, engineering, artificial intelligence, expected to serve 4,500 plus students annually. obviously prioritizing those in the surrounding community. So just, this expansion just is showing Tiger's commitment to, the young people through education and skills and opportunities and kind of underserved areas. So I thought it was cool that it hit Philadelphia, second one there, and at Cobbs Creek West. I thought that was pretty cool shout out for us locally.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a big part of this whole renaissance and rebirth of the Cobbs Creek property, which, we got the Gil Hance golf course going in now, and they envision that to be a site for the PGA Tour to visit one day. I don't know if it would be an annual thing or just every once in a while coming to Philly, like they're coming to the Truist is coming to Cricket Club for a one-off. But that would be a spot where I know that they envision being able to hold events like that. So it's great.
Which would be awesome. I'm hoping for extreme success here at the Truist, so we can, people can see how great Philadelphia golf is, how great the courses are, and hopefully we, get some more events and some more play there. Yeah, a little light on the tee. I didn't fill the cup all the way this week here, so we can dive. We can dive into the. Yeah, I'm in Savannah this week.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to that too. But Moose and I were actually out there at Cricket Club last Thursday, I think it was, for the media day for the Truist Championship, and very cool event. And it got to get a little bit of a look at the golf course. It was so cold. Like, they offered you to go out in a golf cart and sort of take a tour around some of the holes. It was so cold, Danielle, even I refused. I'm
really?
Like, yeah, because it was cold to stand out. The wind was blowing, and it
you've
was like
seen
in
it
the
before.
40s. I know, but I haven't seen it with this kind of a build out. They had a build out there for the senior tour event years ago, but this is going to dwarf that. I mean, because this is obviously the top 70 players in the world, and
well, what are some of the changes they made, Harry? Like, what were they talking about? Well, how's the course going to look different set up? Did they get into any of that?
They're going to route it. They route it differently. I believe they're starting on 8 and they're finishing on 7. And I believe that's even a different routing from when the seniors were there. You can't finish on 18 for an event like this with grandstanding, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I mean, 18 is such a classic hole, and I get it. But for this kind of stuff with build out, and they want to keep the start and the finish as close to the driving range as possible, because these guys are, hitting putts and chips and whatever right up until their tee time. So they got to go boom right on the tee, and then when they leave, they're right over there as well. So it's going to be a different routing. But man, I can't wait. That's going to be an incredible event here coming up in just a few weeks. But we had an incredible event last week on the tour down in Houston. And we got a new winner on the PGA Tour, a guy that the media has been loving him for the last couple of years. Of course, he was involved in TGL, and the whole let him cook thing sort of took on a life of its own here over the last year or two.
Dressing up as chefs.
Chef's hats and all this kind of stuff. You mentioned social media. He's a darling there. Well, he finally got his first win on the PGA Tour. It's his 5th win as a pro, though, because he had 3 on the DP World Tour, including the Scottish Open, which is a pretty big event. And then he had 1 on the Asian Tour leading up to this. Because I was, explaining, to my wife, like, why do these guys make it act like he's never won before? He's never won on the PGA Tour, but he knows how to win.
He's had success.
He's had success at a pretty high level, so then they finally started to mention that as he was closing in on what was going to be his first PGA Tour win. 20 under par, shot a final round 67, which is 3 under for the par 70. He entered the day with a 4-shot lead over Alejandro Tosti, who was in his group. We got to talk about that.
We sure
and
do.
5 shots clear of Fox, who was in his group, and Scotty Scheffler was lurking 5 shots back, and we got some drama.
Narrow win over top competitors. So, and just watching, I felt bad for Gary, just seeing him on the range, and then once he saw.
I was rooting for him so hard.
I was, and just seeing his face though, because he's on the range, like staying warm, and then he sees that they're not going to no playoff, and he was just like,
"Yep,
all right." Like
he made that eagle on 16 and got, that was a great moment. And see him come back like this and be really in the mix was cool to see. And it's great.
And how
to
great
see
of a playoff would that have been?
Oh, I know.
Him, Scotty,
and Minwoo, that would have been terrific.
Right?
Yeah, I was hoping
that's
for
the
that.
TV we want to watch. We want to see. I was like, come on, playoff. Like, and would like to have seen Gary come out on top. But I mean,
Yeah. He shot
him tying for
62.
second. Yeah, 19
Shot
under. Like,
62, man. I'll tell you. And he made a birdie at 15, an eagle at 16, and then a birdie at 18. I mean, you talk about closing, fast.
yeah. What about your guy Rory? I was surprised he was even in the
Oh,
field. And
well,
then him grinding back to just make the cut.
yeah.
They're saying kind of injury concerns,
Oh, yeah.
the
He
right
kind
elbow
of dropped that
injury.
at the end there. I thought that was very interesting.
Well,
You
because he
know,
tied for fifth,
But
so
well, I know, but I mean, he did make 8 straight threes on the card, which I don't know that I've ever seen before.
yeah,
I'm sure it's probably happened, but I was watching. My jaw was like dropped. 4 birdies, 3
actually,
pars, and an eagle between the 5th and 12th holes for Rory. All threes. He ends up
you have me
T5 at
thinking.
15,
I'm like, wait,
15 under par. Yeah.
3-3-3. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of par threes in that
Mhm,
in that stretch, and he parred some of those. But then
mhm.
he's birdieing and eagling a par 5, birdieing par 4s, and hitting pars on par 3s. So it was
Yeah.
really incredible.
And that
And
fifth place win here brought his career earnings to over 100 million.
oh yeah, he doesn't need any more money. Like I know he loves money, but he don't need any more money. But yeah, it was pretty cool to watch. And you're thinking like now Augusta, Scotty with a near miss, Rory closing hard, playing really well, and then he dropped the elbow thing on the interview
Yeah.
after the match, and I'm like, what is that all about? You just went
Ma-
out and shot 15 under par in a tournament.
Do you
How
think?
bad could your elbow be?
Yeah, and heading into Masters. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe that's going to be his crutch for Masters if he doesn't perform well. That it's my elbow hurts.
You're reading my writing.
I got you, Harry.
I'm glad you said it. But yeah, Scotty Scheffler, though, shot 63. He had a makeable eagle try on 16, ended up making birdie, and then had chances on 17 and 18, but just went par to finish one shot short. But it's really good to see him getting the putter back. And I didn't
Yeah.
see frustrated Scotty this weekend.
No,
We've
but
seen him boil over a little bit
yeah,
in recent weeks.
just chill, calm
Yeah.
as a cucumber. But course record to match the course record at Memorial Park was equal 3 times during this tournament. So Scheffler shot a 62 in the second round, marking
Mhm.
the 3rd time he achieved it, shooting a 62. And then Gary and Sammy
Sammy Valimaki shot
also
on
posted
Sunday.
62s
Yeah.
in the final round. So
Yeah.
that was 3 of them that matched that course record there.
Yeah, Valimaki was 64, 62 on the weekend, and Wyndham Clark
Not
too.
a bad weekend, right?
A pair of 64s for him on the weekend. So it's kind of he's another guy that one day he shoots 74, another day he can shoot 62. It's kind of all over the place, but seems to be honing in his game for Augusta National. So it was a good week.
It was,
on
and good
tour.
golf to watch. Like, it was fun,
good. And that golf
But it's like
course is
Final
neat.
Four. I'm like trying to go back and forth between, and I'm like,
Yeah.
no, let's see. And you kind of knew like Minwoo kind of had it tied up, but you're like hoping for a playoff, so you're trying to flip between channels, and
Yeah,
it
I
was
mean,
fun.
It was fun. And then, of course, I'm watching the LPGA. They had a great field out in Arizona for the Ford Championships. They went to a playoff. Hugh
Wow.
Ju Kim defeated Lilia Vu in a playoff. So that was really cool to see. And then, I'm even paying attention to Live Golf. Of course, they're in Miami this week. You know who won their the most recent event on the DP
sure
World
don't.
Tour?
Oh wait,
Eugenio Shikara, former Live golfer. He
that was
won
not
the
in my
DP
lottery.
World.
I would not have guessed that.
He won over in India at the Indian Open. Of course, he's no longer a part of Live. I don't know if they decided to not renew him or he decided to not renew with them. I don't know.
Or maybe he didn't make the
Maybe he didn't qualify for
qualify.
another
Yeah, because I think
contract.
you have to.
But he's a terrific talent. He was an Oklahoma State player, and I remember when they signed him, it was kind of a big deal. But now he's back
Liv?
as a free
When Liv
agent.
signed him?
When Liv signed him, yeah,
Okay.
because he was it was like one of those things, like, oh boy, they're going after the college. They're getting college players now. These up and coming. The PGA Tour was really worried about that. That's what got them starting this PGA Tour University stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I remember being on the range at the U.S. Open, up at the country club, and people were, it's Brandon's caddy is trying to sneak behind me. I'm like,
Stealth.
it's okay, you can walk.
Yeah, we don't care.
He's doing an army crawl.
Come in and say hi.
Yeah, they want you to say hi, Matt. Yeah, but I remember being up on the range, and then rumors circulating about who was going to Live Tour, and there was some
Mhm.
collegiate players, there were some amateurs they were already going after. It was wild.
Yeah,
Wow,
well,
that seems like forever ago. I mean, Live in its 3rd season?
Oh, I think it's fourth season.
Fourth?
Because the contracts are up for next year.
Oh yeah.
So and
Which is
they got
wild.
David Puig was one of those guys from Arizona State that went over, and it was like, man, they're raiding the young college talent, and that's when caused the PGA Tour to react. But yeah, great week, and we got the Texas Open, the Valero Texas Open this week as the final.
Of Texas.
A lot of Texas prior to the Masters, but TPC San Antonio's Oaks course. We'll take a look at the course, of course, brought to you by the Penn Club on Second, the terrific indoor simulator in downtown Conshohocken. This is a Greg Norman design along with Pete Dye back in 2009, the Oaks course. There's 2 golf courses there. The other one is designed solely by Pete Dye. It's a great spot. You can, the public can go play it, stay at the resort, and play both of these golf courses. It seems like a bucket list kind of trip, play where the pros play. Par 72, 7,438 yards, 4 par 3s, 4 par 5s, traditional setup, but there's 2 600-plus yard par 5s on this golf course. The average green size, 6,400 square feet, POA overseed. The approaches, fairways, and rough are all ryegrass and fescue. They've got 64 sand bunkers, only 3 water hazards, and it's in play on 3 holes. And the average fairway width is 25 to 30 yards. The finish is pretty cool. Behind me is the 16th hole, and you can see the bunker right in the center of the green there. Par 3, 183 yards. Bunker right in the middle of the green. It's a bicycle seat shaped green, and they got some great pin placements. They can move around that bunker, and got to hit shots to a certain spot, or you end up chipping over a bunker. I mean, can you imagine that? But 17th hole is a short par 4, drivable some days, 347 yards. Another bicycle seat shaped green with large deep bunker on the left. It's an absolute scoring hole. You got to make birdie here. Maybe an eagle, on Sunday if you need it. But the 18th hole is a par 5, 591 yards, a real narrow fairway that favors the right side if you want to access this green or have any chance of accessing this green in 2. And then there's a creek that splits the fairway for the approach to the green, which is segmented into 3 sections with 3 bunkers surrounding the left and back sides. Always great drama here. I love watching this tournament. It's a hard golf course.
Yeah.
Even for these guys. And, any type of player can win here, but you got to have your iron game on. It's an approach golf course. The fairway's not, a little bit wider than, not as wide as Houston, but a little bit wider than maybe the normal PGA Tour course. But the second shot, man, you got to find these greens.
I didn't even look at the list. Week before Augusta, a lot of people are taking off.
Field.
What does the field look like?
It's a good field. You got, let me pull it up here.
Yeah, I can pull it up too.
Yeah, we got
Harry. Are you Harry Acorns in our pool?
Yes, I am.
What, you are in 8th place. I'm in 9th, so we got to battle it out this week.
Yeah, that's right. Ludwig Oberg is at plus 1,200. He's the favorite, followed closely by Corey Connors, who's a 2-time winner here. Both his PGA Tour wins are at this golf course. And your boy, Tommy Fleetwood, plus 1,600. The third, actually, he's tied for the second favorite. And then Patrick Cantlay, Jordan Spieth, Hideki, Akshay, who won here last year. Keegan Bradley's playing great. Denny McCarthy finished second here last year to Akshay. He's plus 2,800. Daniel Berger, a lot of people like him here.
Oh, yeah.
Siwoo Kim, Tony Finau, Keith Mitchell, Tom Kim. It's a pretty good field. I got to be honest. I'm on Bud Cauley, I think. In honor of Jason Bale joining the podcast, I'm going to go with Bud Cauley.
Trending.
Well here, and
Bud
he's trending.
He's
and
trending.
he'd be a great story too. If he was able to get the win, that would be another terrific story for the tour. But good field. And
oh wait, Harry, I need to ask you this. I did see. I didn't get the full story on it. I saw on Twitter Ben Griffin saying the media messed up. Me finishing 38th or whatever would not have got me into the Masters, but I guess they were saying that. Did you hear anything on that or see that?
No, I missed that. I know Michael Kim barely made it in. I had him last week.
It wasn't true, but there was something. I'll tell you exactly what
Ben Griffin's in the field again this week. That's probably why. Yeah.
Yeah, and he said thank you everyone for the kind messages after yesterday's round. Unfortunately, the media was a bit misleading about a top 28 qualifying me for the Masters. I played my best and moved to 51 in rankings, fractionally missing off to week 13 in a row, time to win in San Antonio. So he's 51. So we're right outside. But I guess like it's like a fraction of a point, literally, between 50 and 51. And he was like 0.003 off or whatever. So that's tough. But
yeah. Well, he's in the field this week, so I mean, he plays every week, and he's even talked about it.
Yeah,
like,
what I just say,
he just
13th in a row or something.
He loves to play, and he's like the new Sung
week
J
13
M
in a row.
He's like the new Sung J M playing every week. But we got to bring up this, staying with the Texas Open, the Alejandro Tosti. He's in the field here this week, but last week at Houston, he's playing with Minwoo Lee and Ryan Fox in the final group, and Minwoo hits a crooked tee shot. On the 8th hole, it's a par 5 on the front, and it's under a bush, like one of these scrubby bushes. You can see the ball, and he and his caddy, they had this on camera the whole time, and Bones is like 10 feet away, calling the action, describing it, trying to decide whether he should get on both knees and try to take an iron and just baseball swing it and whack it out as far as he could. Maybe he makes the fairway, maybe not, but there was also a big tree kind of in front of him too. So if he doesn't whack it out far enough, he might have tree trouble then on the next shot to get to the green. So this went on forever. Ends up that he takes a drop, hits his next shot out, and eventually gets up on the green and actually made par. It was an incredible par on a par 5, taking a drop. The hole took 32 minutes for him to play. Okay? Like an extraordinarily long period of time.
Imagine if him and JT are in the same group.
Well, right. With all this focus on slow play, and he's with Toasty, who is kind of an ornery fella. Like
that's a nice way to say it.
You might know a little bit about him from the Corn Ferry days, but I'm watching him and I'm like, this guy kind of might be hard to play with. And then later,
he's a hothead.
He is a hothead, and he actually hooked his first iron shot on the first hole into a water hazard, which was 30 yards left of the green. So he was really off. He was upset with himself to begin with, and then he had to wait this 32 minutes to play a par 5. So a couple of holes later, I forget what hole it was, all of a sudden you see Minwoo Lee and Fox in the fairway getting ready to hit their second shots, and there's no Toasty. And Bones comes on and says, yeah, Alejandro Toasty, he's talking in his hushed tones. Alejandro Toasty is slow playing the hole. He basically called him out for it. And you saw Toasty about 50 yards back, walking very slowly up the fairway, eating a sandwich. Bones made it seem like he was doing it intentionally because he's ticked off with the whole thing. Everything on the day is ticking him off. Ends up, Toasty hears about this afterwards and gets into it. Like he called out Bones and said, yeah, I heard Bones basically was searching for more drama, trying to make me a scapegoat for slow playing a hole. Little did he know, if he'd have been paying attention, I went to the bathroom and picked up a sandwich, and that's why I was a little bit behind. So he's calling out Bones for trying to over-dramatize the whole situation.
Yeah. But I mean, did it, I didn't see him walking up. Did it appear that he was going really slow? Or?
It looked like he was. And of course, I trust in Bones. He's there. I'm not. But,
and you can tell if someone, and especially if, someone does, you have to use a bathroom when you're out there.
Right,
Somebody goes to the restroom, like they're trying to hustle to catch back up.
Usually they're jogging. Usually I've seen this, live.
And what do you mean stop to get a sandwich? Like, is this not in your bag? Or
I hope he washed his hands in between. He's eating his sandwich and he's walking up real slow. And it kind of looked like he was trying to get in the other two guys' heads that he was playing with, which I thought was kind of weird. But he seems
and
a little,
just also like rude
ornery.
too if they're contending and you're just like, you know what, I'm just going to be this way. But, you got the benefit of the doubt, I guess. Like he says that he's just trying to use the bathroom and get a Sammy.
Right. Just wash your hands. But big week, not only the prep for the Masters, we got the T-Mobile match play at Shadow Creek on the LPGA Tour. That starts actually today through Sunday. And we got the the Augusta National Women's Amateur this week, which is a really cool event that I've really enjoyed watching. But you're in Savannah, Georgia for the Club Car Championship on the Corn Ferry Tour. Give us a little insight.
I am. I'm about to, after we finish here, I'm going to go over. I haven't been to the course yet. I was working here this Monday and Tuesday, and then just kind of went downtown yesterday to check things out. But this is, I haven't been at Landings Club since Brandon was on Web. So,
Okay.
and I was actually caddying during that time. So we have some funny stories about Savannah. We stayed in host housing. The people had a domesticated bobcat.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pouring rain. I gave props to Matt, to Brandon's caddy, because I was like, caddying's hard enough. And then when it's raining, you're trying to hold an umbrella. Brandon's a tall guy, trying to hold an umbrella over him, trying to keep everything dry, trying to tend to pin. I'm like, you can't pay me enough to caddy.
Right.
I swore that was my last time caddying, but I think I caved in and did it once or twice after. But yeah, so this place is fun. I'm excited to be back. I don't know if the course has changed at all, but I'll get over there later today and check it all out. So
Wow, you guys
Not-
staying in a house with a domesticated bobcat sounds like you need to do a Verbo commercial.
literally, literally, Harry, that's
Yeah.
actually genius. But it
Yeah,
was like
look-
host housing. We got there and we weren't married, so they were like
Right.
separate rooms, and we were like, but we lived together. We're like, okay, fine. So we stayed in separate rooms. And then the wife and the husband stayed in separate ends of the house. And we were like, okay. And she comes out to introduce herself, and it looks like she's just been playing with a pricker bush. And we're like, what's going on? She's like, I just have this, my daughter's cat or whatever. And then her husband's like, yeah, it's a bobcat. We were just like, what world are we living in?
Wow.
So we have a lot of little funny stories from Savannah. So I like this place.
Well, get Drew Carr on the phone, and you got to start working something out with Verbo. That would be
Verbo
funny.
Airbnb commercial.
Because I've seen the Saban commercial enough now. I can memorize it, and we need something else. We're going to need a new.
That'd be
Verbo
good.
commercial.
If we that's it. We just painted the picture. If we just have, domesticated
Separate
bobcat
beds,
and a
domesticated
separate rooms.
bobcat. Oh, terrific.
Yeah. And then look, here we are in our own Airbnb where we can
There
do
you
what we
go.
want.
All right. Well, best of luck down there in Savannah. I'm envious because the weather here is still a little iffy. A lot of rain this weekend. It's still kind of cold.
It's a little hot here and humid. It's natty.
Yeah. Well, Savannah's a cool town, though.
It is cool.
So,
I like it. Yeah.
So best of luck, and
Appreciate it.
Moose will be back next week. So don't, be sure and go out there and swing it and ding it between now and next week, and we'll see you next Wednesday with
Sure will.
Masters Prep.
Ooh, pimento cheese.